Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Millie and today I'm going to be talking all about the new Natasha Denona Chromium liquid eyeshadows. I know, another liquid multi-chrome eyeshadow video. I know, what can I say? They just won't stop coming. I have a video up from Monday where I featured the Ciate London shadow flips, which are also liquid multi-chrome eyeshadows in case you haven't seen it. And then the multi-chrome Monday before that was featuring the Dominique Cosmetics liquid eyeshadows. They only had 2 multi-chromes, but I did those and I did eye swatches and I talked about them. So if you're interested to see, I will link that down below. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Millie and I like to feature a lot of multi-chromes and shifty eyeshadows, mostly from indie brands on my channel. And I do a series called Multi-Chrome Monday where I eye swatch them and I talk about wear time, application, and also compare all the multi-chromes between the different indie brands, which I have so many videos up, so please make sure to check out my playlist if that is something that you're interested in. First things first, I just want to touch on the claim that Natasha Denona came out with, which was that these are the first ever eye safe liquid multi-chrome eyeshadows. And I just would like to ask Natasha Denona to please explain what she means by that, because that is totally inaccurate and totally not true. And it kind of seems a little shady towards indie brands because multi-chromes themselves have been around for a few years. My first ever multi-chrome was from Dawn Eyes Cosmetics back before the rebrand and their awful website that they used to have. They're the ones that really got me hooked on multi-chromes, and this was in like 2016, 2017. But liquid multi-chrome wise, Christine Lee Cosmetics, which is a indie brand based in Massachusetts, actually, they're on Etsy and they have been doing jelly eyeshadows and they have some multi-chrome shades. And then also Chaos Cosmetics, not Chaos Makeup because that brand is sketchy, but Chaos Cosmetics has some jelly multi-chrome eyeshadows, which I also have a video up with testing those out. So they are jelly and they come in a different kind of component. They're not in a tube like this with an applicator, but they're still wet and they dry down, so kind of similar effect. They're just jelly but not liquid, I guess. But I would say that these are a bit more on the gel side. They're pretty thick in comparison to the Dominique Cosmetics and the Ciate London, but I was really intrigued by these because they seemed definitely really beautiful from the video that Natasha Denona posted of the swatches and also on the launch photos. And I will also be doing some comparison swatches between these liquid multi-chrome eyeshadows and my pressed multi-chromes from different indie brands to try and find a dupe, and stay tuned for that in case you don't want to spend $28 on a liquid multi-chrome and you'd rather just buy 1 or 2 pressed multi-chromes, then you could do that. So if you would like to see how these swatch and look on the eyes, please keep watching. First up is Dogbane. This one is one of the ones that I felt like was a little sheerer. You can see especially on the edge there. On the other, I'm putting Ultraviolet. This one on the other hand is super pigmented, as you can see, and metallic, applied very beautifully. Next up is Infra Nude, and this one is very soft but very pigmented and beautiful. Then we have Dragonfly. This one's pretty pigmented but encountered a little bit of sheerness here and there. And lastly is Scarab. This one applied really beautifully. Imagine this one to be a bit more opaque. And so those are all the eye swatches. Overall, I'm really happy with them. I was a bit skeptical because liquid eyeshadows in general don't really work on my hooded lids. I find in general they really tend to crease, but I had no issues with these. But I would like to mention I did use the Smashbox 24-hour eyeshadow primer, which is the one that really dries down matte. It has no pigment, but it dries down completely matte, and I don't have any creasing issues with that. But if you would like to use these on top of something like the P. Louise base, the ABH primer, those kinds of, you know, tacky primers, I'd be careful if you have oily hooded lids, because you're technically putting something that is liquid, even though it does dry down. You're putting it on something that's tacky and not necessarily completely dried down, so you might encounter a little bit of issues there. Most of these applied very pigmented, some of them a little bit on the sheer side, but in general you could really easily sheer these out. I love how easily I could just blend them out in the crease when I was doing some eye looks, and I would like to actually do a video for maybe some future Multichrome Monday where I create 5 looks with all 5 of these, obviously separately, 5 different looks with 5 each of these is what I meant. But I would really like to do that. Really make sure that these dry down before you open your eyes, because then you are running the risk with opening your eye and creasing it, and then it dries down with a crease already. So definitely wait for it to dry down. I feel like sometimes it takes a little longer than others. I don't know what it is. Maybe if you apply a lot, if there's a lot on the applicator, then it will take longer. Obviously, there's a thicker coat to dry down. But as long as you do that, you should be all set. I didn't have any wear time issues with these. Similarly like with the Ciate London, I think if you're an indie makeup lover like me and you have tried 1 or 2 or a bunch of different multichromes from different indie brands, I don't think this will be living up to the same expectation, because a lot of the indie brand multichromes are more on the deep jeweled toned side with a blackened base. And that's something else I wanted to mention that I really loved about these, is that there is no black base that I can tell. So when I try to blend out the edge, I don't run into that like weird grayish blackish cast when I have like a bright colored eyeshadows, because with the pressed eyeshadows you have to be careful when you do that. So that's a huge plus for me, but I am not surprised that these are on the softer side, because it is Natasha Denona, and given her customer base, I don't think that anything that would be like the jeweled multichromes from Cleona or the multichromes from Terra Moons and Baby Bat Beauty and JD Glow are really for everyone, because they do tend to look a little bit more smoky and almost more glam on the eyes. I really can't tell you which one I recommend, because it really depends on your personal taste and what you're looking for. If you're looking for something a little bit on the softer side, I would say Dragonfly is really beautiful and very wearable, which I hate that word, but you know what I mean. It's a bit on the softer side. You can pair a really nice like pinky eyeshadow with it, as well as infrared, which is actually what I have on my lids right now, and see, you can like really soften them up. I love it. Just with a matte shadow in the crease, I just really love this. I think this is a great one swipe eyeshadow, get out the door, but also like super cool because it shifts and stuff and you'll confuse people. So it's not your average one eyeshadow and done kind of eyeshadow, you know? Take a shot every time I say multichrome or eyeshadow in this video. So as you can see, Forge is totally different kind of shift. It goes to a green, not like a gold. I would say from all of these that Cygnus and Mosaic are the closest, Mosaic probably being even closer. I think that Cygnus just looks a little bit more peachy, but both of these formulas are a bit more sheer, as you can see, compared to the liquid multichrome. So you can see that the Natasha Denona liquid eyeshadow is just so much softer, while the others you can tell that there's a black base. So not really any direct dupes. I would say that Head Rush is probably the closest, but keep in mind it will be a bit darker on the lid because of that black base, which I thought that the Cleona would be the closest, but again, it has such a blackened base, just like the Phoebus shade from Divina, that they just don't really compare. And also found that Dogbane looks a little bit sheerer and applied sheerer than the others, but overall not really direct dupes here. probably sandblast the closest. Again, Ephemera has a blackened base, so you can see that as it blends out on the edges there. But these are all pretty close. I think Paralucha is probably the closest though, because it is a little bit sheerer. I would say Weathered is the closest, even though part of the shift is a bit more lime green, while Scarab is very bright green. I don't know if you can see it, but they're pretty similar, so I think you could do with one but without the other. And lastly, I wanted to mention I didn't notice any weird kind of accentuation of my skin texture on my eyelid, which is very common with liquid eyeshadows that dry down, because you kind of dry them down looking down so your skin is stretched out, and then the moment you open your eyes, you know, you're like, oh, what is happening there? All the little crevices and nooks and crannies of my eyelid are visible. I think they look really good, and also they don't feel heavy. I don't know about if you wanted to put multiple coats. I almost feel like you don't really need to with most of these. Like 2 of them are a little sheer, but I really don't think you need to apply 2 coats. They feel really light on the lid. And so that's everything for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you picked any of these up and which shade is your favorite. I would love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will leave up my Multichrome Monday playlist up on the screen in case you're interested in watching. And subscribe if you're interested in more Multichrome content, more indie makeup, and anything shiny and shifty, because I have plenty of that on my channel here. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.